I'm your host, Margot Adams Larson, and you're listening to the Inspired Hive podcast, the space where passion meets purpose. Here we share stories, strategies, and insights from leaders and entrepreneurs who are transforming their fields. Whether you're building your career or your business, the Inspired Hive podcast is your go-to for actionable advice and powerful inspiration. I am delighted to introduce you to Dr. Lucette Beall. She is a mindset and life coach, a veterinarian, a best-selling author, and a thriver. As a single mom, self-employed professional with no paid sick leave and facing a long-term medical treatment experience, she has journeyed the depths of financial challenges. Her entrepreneurial journey has benefited from the resilience tools she gained along the way, and she's on a mission to help others discover their extraordinary life by learning how to live from the inside out. Let's hear what they have to say. Lucette, welcome to the Inspired Hive podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
Oh, I am just super thrilled that we found this connection. You reached out to me on, I think it was LinkedIn, and I started following your journey. And one of the things that I was really connected with was you're a veterinarian. And so many of the folks that I work with have been in a professional practice or are in a professional practice and trying to navigate the essence of entrepreneurship and life as it kind of collides in that realm. I would love for you to tell us a bit about where your story begins.
So I own my own practice, and I ended up on the heels of a divorce. I found myself diagnosed with cancer, and I was facing 15 months of multiple surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation with no child support and no paid sick days. And so every time I left my practice as a single practitioner to get treatment, to have surgeries, to do chemotherapy, we weren't making any money. And so not only was I the sole source for my child, but also my employees. You're trying to stay in business so that you have life after treatment, right? And so it was terrifying at first. I mean, honestly, it was overwhelming, and I really learned right away to stay functional. Sometimes that meant narrowing down your focus to just the next 5 minutes, just the next hour. Because if you looked at the big picture, it was overwhelming. And I really didn't want to give up. I learned so much from that journey. And I came out on the other side and still had my business, healed from the cancer and growing. And then my brother suffered a traumatic brain injury a year after I finished chemotherapy treatment. And I chose to step out of my business to help him because I couldn't leave him in a mental hospital for the rest of his life. I ended up in a significant financial situation because of that choice. And also because of the fact that I still didn't have all the tools, right? I truly believe if I knew then what I knew now, it would have been a much easier journey.
I love that so much because it's as though we have kind of a social mindset that you can't both deal with life and thrive at the same time. And you gave
Yes.
yourself permission to do that, to thrive despite the
Yes.
things you're learning along the way. It's such a powerful journey to share with others. I think there's so much in that.
And the power of realizing, first of all, you can only receive as big as you believe.
Mm.
God can give it to you all you want, but if you don't believe it, you say, I'm not ready. That's not for me, right? And that's the piece that so many of us are missing so often. We give to others first and put ourselves last. And what happens out of that is we don't have as much to give.
And it's that full belief system. And you
Yeah.
flipped it, right? Instead of having to see it to believe it, you're believing it to actually see the fruition of it. How powerful that is. What inspires you?
Honestly, now what inspires me so much is the joy of sharing it with others and watching them get it. watching them use it. I can do a workshop and sometimes I'll have emails or phone calls or texts before I even get home with something magical and awesome that's happened because of what they were able to release and take in the workshop. And it is so much fun.
I love how your framework is around kind of sensing that energy from your belief and then going through whatever that next thing is, whether it's, your business or your coaching, that you can share that out then. And I think so many professionals, especially, feel, we've come through this graduate school, we've come through a ton of education. There's often debt associated with that, but that's been that journey and path of what we've been told we should do as opposed to knowing what's inside us. And so some of us find that along the way. Some of us are still looking for it. Some of us are inspired by these kinds of conversations of realizing that what our traditional path has been doesn't have to be what we continue to do. We can incorporate all of these messages and learnings, and be open to that along the way. And I think that's one of the things that was so intriguing to me about your journey, because you're able to articulate how all of these pieces have kind of come to be for you. And I think within that, quite inspiring for others. So I'm curious if there's a big lesson that you've been blessed with that you kind of view as that turning point in kind of the conventional thought process to this now transformative mindset.
It came in pieces, but for sure, I think the mindset piece, I learned some of it going through cancer, right? Because I learned to thrive when other people are like, I don't know how you're not crumbling. I don't know how you're doing this, right? But I lost some of it after that because I didn't really, some of the things that I didn't have it all put together in steps yet, right? I didn't have all of it. I had enough. Like, I'm so grateful I went through that before I ended up in the situation where I needed to help my brother, because I don't know if I hadn't been through that journey, if I would have had the courage to do something so far outside of the box when I needed to help him. And most people wouldn't do that, you
Mhm.
know, because I couldn't guarantee that I wasn't going to lose my everything. But I knew I was supposed to do it and I trusted that there was a way. And then I got lost because I just didn't have enough tools yet, right?
Mhm.
But I'm grateful for that in the sense that that 3 years of struggle and then that moment when I had to sit down and decide if I keep doing what I'm doing now, I'm gonna have to choose to go bankrupt. Am I willing to do that? And if I'm not willing to do that, what am I gonna do? And I didn't have somebody else to ask. It was just me having a conversation with me. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. I think that's why I have so much that I'm able to teach, because I know how in any relationship that I have, that my relationship with myself, with God, my higher power, has to be first before anything else. And when you do it that way, you're very clean and clear about who you are in the relationship. But the moment in time where I decided that I wasn't going to fail and that
Mm.
I decided that I was going to change my mindset, and I that meant I decided to choose to believe that I could believe big enough to not fail without knowing how I was going to do it. I simply chose to make a morning routine an absolute imperative. If I had a night where I couldn't sleep at all, I didn't try to get a nap in. I got up and did my morning routine, knowing that it was more powerful than what I might have gotten at that point, sleep wise.
The
And that's not to say
discipline.
sleep's not important. It is important.
Right.
But in that moment where there was that much stress, the most important thing I could do. And what happened was at first I would get to work and, the debtors are calling and the creditors and the challenges are there. And it wasn't because I didn't have clients, it was because I was not there running it. I could have made the turnaround a lot faster if I'd have been in the right mindset. But I was struggling at that point, feeling guilt. I was beating myself up, honestly. I was criticizing myself. And I never regretted stepping out for him. I just felt like I was failing at getting the business back where it should be. Understanding when I started to turn that mindset and you go in the business, and pretty soon you start to think the same way you've been working on yourself every morning. You start seeing the positives. You start appreciating every good thing. You start saying that appreciation. So I created a appreciation journal that's very specific that I still use. And it is 3 things that I appreciate in others, 3 things I appreciate in life, and 3 things I appreciate in myself.
Yeah.
It's a daily practice. Because one of the things we do that keeps us beating each other up is we don't appreciate ourselves and we're not kind to ourselves. And what I've learned is the way to become resilient, that nothing can take you down, that every challenge is an opportunity, that you're always a winner, is talking kind to yourself, is changing that voice in your head, which is why I created the subscription with all of the different flip your scripts and the videos and PDF learnings as well, so that there's multiple different ways, whatever learning works for you, that you can take in that information.
As we're wrapping up, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about kind of what you've got rolling out. I know there's some things coming out, and I'd love to hear.
So yes, I have a new book, but it's going to come out in April
Awesome.
around building mindset and building your extraordinary life and developing this resilience. And then I have a subscription program, which is how to build your extraordinary life. And that subscription program is about the mindset changes, how to change what you're telling yourself, how to use appreciation to change your life, because you can learn to appreciate the challenges. It doesn't mean you enjoyed them. Even really yucky ones, you don't necessarily appreciate the challenge. You can appreciate who you became because of it, your opportunity for growth. If you met somebody amazing, you look for the silver lining, even in the yuckiest things. Our physical health is related to our mental health. And even if you have chronic debilitating disease, you can turn a lot of it around and live a much healthier life if you change your mindset and what you're telling yourself.
It's such a big message in how we think and what we tell ourselves, what we fuel our brain, what we surround ourselves in choice with, and how that impacts all of our being and how we grow. And I am just so inspired. We could chat continue today, but I know we kind of want to keep it a bit contained. I am just so thrilled that you have been able to inspire us today on the podcast. And I would just ask, as we're kind of wrapping up, is there any single kind of mantra or mindset or piece of advice that you'd want to leave the listeners with to carry on throughout their day today?
Maybe the biggest thing would be you can only receive as big as you believe, and you're worthy of believing everything.
Oh, that is so good. Thank you so, so much for sharing time today. I close each of these with a quote that I pull ahead of time, and I'm always amazed at how connected the quotes are to the things we end up talking about. I pulled something from Janet Taylor Spence, and this quote is, "Live from the inside out. Your mind, body, and spirit are interconnected. Nourish your soul with mental and physical wellness." Thanks so much for joining me today on the Inspired Hive podcast. Stay connected by following us at Inspired Hive Podcast on social media. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content. I'll see you soon. And remember, go be inspired.